Hello everybody, and welcome back to SharePlays with Dragon and Madi, with your host, Dragon, and as always, Madi.
I am eating.
Yes, it's unprofessional, but we're not exactly professional anyway, so it's fine. And we're back
I
into...
haven't eaten all day, so fuck off.
Okay. Wow. And we're back into it with Spider-Man, and this is going to be a very special episode, well, kind of special. This episode is dedicated to the memory of Stan Lee, who passed away a couple of days ago. At the time of this recording, it was... oh, I can't remember the date, and I feel really bad about that. And so, yes, that's, it was a very sad moment for nerds around the world. There was a bit of toxicity surrounding it, but I chose to ignore all of that and just focus on sort of
What do you
grieving.
mean toxicity?
Oh, people thought people thought he was really racist and sexist, but in fact he had no problem with people of color, and one of his most iconic characters is, of course, a black man. Black Panther.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking at the sort of... oh, I know what I meant to do. Yeah, looking at his list of characters that he created, it is really who's who in Marvel. And he didn't just do Marvel as well. He actually wrote a series called Just Imagine, and he would imagine DC characters in sort of his own style, which was very cool. I got to read a couple of issues of that, and that was really nice. And he also worked on the kind of failed Agents of Mayhem. He was the art director, which explains why it looks very much like a comic book. When you look at it, like it's a very comic book cartoon game. I love it, to be honest, and I didn't even know he worked on it until the credits started rolling. And yeah, so to say he had a cultural impact is a bit of an understatement. Honestly, he changed the world, and it wasn't through the Avengers, and it wasn't through Black Panther or anybody. It was through Spider-Man, because a little bit of history. So, like, comics at the time, when they first started getting big, which was when Superman started getting big in his first issue, Action Comics #1, they were all about escapism, because people didn't want to read about their problems, because this was during the Great Depression. They had their own problems, and so
Yeah.
the comics at the time were all about gods and billionaires and aliens from other planets that didn't have problems. They fought the villains, and they always won. They always beat the bad guys, and they never really failed. About 23 years on, 1963, we're now out of World War II, and like, we're getting to sort of the next generation, the 60s and everything, and comics are still big. The comics code has been put into place, which meant that comics weren't allowed to have excessive violence or sexual themes, and most characters weren't allowed to kill. And
Yes.
so it was in this period that Marvel started to become really big. This is also where you got like the really wacky stories from DC Comics and everything. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like, this is the period where Spider-Man came into place. Now, the reason why Spider-Man was so big and so successful was not because of the it wasn't because of like he was a new unique hero. It was more how he was presented. So it was basically Stan Lee and his artist Steve Ditko decided that they were going to create the character of Spider-Man, and their publisher said no, because like few reasons. He's got a bug on his chest. People hate bugs. He's wearing the full face mask. Only criminals wear full face masks. And he's a teenager, which they were either the sidekick or the people being saved. They weren't the hero. But of course, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko knew that the next generation of readers were teenagers. They had money, and they would, yeah, they wanted to read about like gods and monsters and everything, but they wanted to read about themselves as well. And so it was Stan's wife Joan that said yes, go for this character, release it, and then the publishers got the numbers back and said keep doing it. Because Spider-Man's story...
Dragon?
Yes?
Okay, I'm just sorry for interrupting, but every now and then, like, you'll do this weird thing because of the internet, so it's like, I asked you to repeat something, it's because, like, you went really loud or something.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's not you, it's the internet, because it'll try to, like, I don't know how to pronounce, like, how to say it. It's almost like a buffering, in a way. But it forces you to be louder at like slightly at one point, and then it'll go back.
Okay. Yeah. So, that's probably also my voice actually.
No, it's like an electronic type loudness. Like you'll get like robotic at that point. Two more things for this channel. One, sorry about the other episode. This is what happens when Sid joins.
Yeah. So about the one of the last two episodes, I think it was called "This Is That Was Awkward." Yeah. Sorry about that. That's what happens when Sid guest stars.
Yeah. It's just me and him. We descend into a perverted talk, and Dragon's not comfortable with that.
Yeah, not exactly. And I don't think a lot of people are.
Another thing, I'm again apologize about my nose and if you can hear me eating, but like again, I haven't eaten all day, and I can barely breathe right now. So.
Okay. So, yeah. So, Spider-Man's story was basically, it didn't just focus on the hero, which is what all other superheroes would do. All other superhero stories did. They focused on the hero. They didn't really care about the man behind the symbol, or the woman behind the symbol, of course, as we remember Wonder Woman. And so again, Spider-Man was the first one to focus on the man behind the mask, and again, he was a scrawny teenager. He had, and not even the best teenager. Like, sure, he was amazingly smart, but that was all he had going for him. He was a wallflower, would get bullied all the time, girls turned him down, all of this. And so when kids read it, like the teenagers read it, they were reading about their own problems, and they enjoyed that, and so the numbers skyrocketed, so their publishers were like, keep doing it. And now, over 800 issues later, Spider-Man has become a cultural icon, and a lot of stories that have spawned since his conception have been inspired by his story. Because if you look at a lot of stories now, they focus on the alter egos as well as the superheroes. Whereas in the early days they didn't really do that.
Yeah.
So, again, to say Spider-Man is an icon is again another understatement, because arguably he changed the world and is probably one of the best fictional characters in the world. And I'm not trying to like bag on all the other superheroes and like other amazing characters in literature, but Spider-Man is probably one of the best. Just.
And his favorite.
Oh yeah, a definite favorite of a lot of people. And oh god.
That's
So.
your favorite.
Oh yeah, no, my favorite. So yeah, so that's Spider-Man's history with Stan Lee. But Stan again isn't famous. Well, isn't famous for just Spider-Man, because again he created the Avengers, he created Doctor Strange, Black Panther, a lot of the villains that we now know. Like, oh crap, I should have left that. Like all of the stuff, all of the characters that we know are in direct relation to Stan Lee in some way, shape, or form. There are some that he didn't do. I will admit right now there are some he didn't do. One of my favorites being Moon Knight. He did not create Moon Knight. I'm a little bit annoyed about that, because I really love Moon Knight as well. I don't believe he created Ghost Rider either. Which again, kind of annoyed about, because I love Ghost Rider. But just looking at the list
talk
of.
about the movie with Nick Cage.
No, we will talk about Gabriel Luna and Robbie Reyes, because that was freaking awesome. Yeah, so. Oh, it's not a movie. It's in the 4th season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for like 8 episodes. He's just a full badass.
Oh. I'll have to watch that. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. And again, looking at the amount of characters he created for Marvel, it is a who's who of Marvel characters. It's just like, again, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the Inhumans, the Defenders. He created like half the team there. A lot of iconic villains that we now know today, and so many, too many to list, way too many to list. Yeah. Now, his presence.
Continue with the main story.
Yeah. Now, his presence isn't just writer's credit on most of the Marvel characters that we know today. It is also, he also has a huge movie and TV presence due to him being the king of cameos. So, I'll try and list as many as I can, because there are a lot.
That car crash looks bad.
I believe his first one was in 1989. Oh crap, I cut off JJ. His first one was in 1989, in the Incredible Hulk series called called The Trial of the Incredible Hulk, and he was one of the jurors in that trial. And then I believe his next cameo was actually a his first voice acting cameo in the Spider-Man TV series, where he gets to swing around with Spider-Man, and it's all very sweet and everything, and I love it. And his next movie cameo was Mallrats as himself, and he's sort of talking to is it Brody? I can't remember. I barely know the movie. But yeah, he's talking to one of the main characters about sort of like how we should hold on to love and everything, and relates it to his characters, and it's all very uplifting. And then of course gets back into the Marvel movies with X-Men. I'm not gonna say what he does for all of them, just because some of them I can't remember. But yeah, he's in X-Men, he's in Spider-Man, he's in Daredevil, he's in Fantastic Four, he's in Spider-Man 2, he's in X-Men 3, he's in Fantastic Four 2. Oh no, I'm gonna list them all.
No, you
Again,
don't.
no, I'm not gonna say what he does for all of them. He's in Spider-Man 3, and this is...
I can't even remember all of them.
What?
I said I can't even remember all of them.
He's in Spider-Man 3, and this is probably his greatest cameo because it's the scene where Peter finds out he's getting the key to the city, and then Stan says, you know, I guess one man can make a difference. Enough said. And like the fact that that's him, like it relates to both Spider-Man and Stan Lee now is just perfect. Yep, I know. And then
I can't really say much about Stanley. I didn't know a lot about him. I thought he was cool.
and that is absolutely fine. That is absolutely fine. I know not a lot of people like saw him as like a huge icon. They just sort of knew him from, hey, this guy always turns up in the Marvel movies.
Well, it wasn't that. It was like, okay, so the first time I ever actually realized it was actually me, because I'm not a big comic book fan. I was watching this TV series where they were looking for like real life superheroes, people with actual abilities that no one else had, and they found some. Leo, fill it out. Sorry, my dogs. But he appeared and said, "What makes a superhero?" And he was doing this little intro for it, which was interesting. And that's how I first actually you know, knew who he was completely, because I actually looked it up and I was like, oh, he's the guy from Marvel, you know. But I can't really say a lot for him besides like I don't understand what people think about controversy or all that crap about him, because he seemed like a really nice dude, you know. He seemed pretty cool, and but like that's all I can say about him. Besides, like I love the works that he did; they're pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why I'm just sitting here awkwardly as you rant about him, because well, rant or talk about him, because I'm like, I can't say
Looks like the circuits need a little
No, I know you can't say much, and again, that's fine. I can do most of the talking on this.
well, I mean, I want to talk. It's just like I'm not. I don't want to like cut you off because you want to talk about him.
Maybe there's another junction box
dedicated
close by.
to him, because like.
Gotcha.
But I can't talk.
Almost
Yeah.
there. Box should do it.
I always forget what this last one is. It's fine, yeah. Yeah, so then he's an Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, First Avenger, the Avengers, Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Winter Soldier.
Dude, he's in a lot of movies. Let's just. We don't really need to name them all, please. Please, no, let's not name them all.
Okay. Fine, we won't name them all, but yes. Basically, if they're in the MCU or they have any sort of relation to Spider-Man, he will be there. Because, again, he's also had a few cartoon cameos as well, here and there. I think... Now, I know that probably his most important one is the Spider-Man 3 one, but I think my favorite one is actually the Teen Titans Go movie one. Where...
We're not talking about that horrid show known as Teen Titans Go.
Granted, yes. But again, he makes two cameos in the movie, and they're beautiful, to be honest. Well, the first one is. The second one is.
I thought Teen Titans was DC.
Yeah, no, it is. When he turns up, he's like, "Hey, it's me, Stanley," making my subtle cameo, and it's basically Stanley in neon lights, pointing at him, and he's sort of pointing at himself, and then an intern comes up and he's whispers in his ear, and Stan's like, "This is a DC movie? Oh man, I gotta get out of here," and it's great. like I really do like the cameo. The movie is, and then there's an end credit scene where the original Teen Titans come back,
Truck bombs.
and I'm like,
How dare they? Why do they do this? Okay, let's just talk about
because
this.
they're bringing the original Teen Titans back.
Hey, did you finally?
Like, are they bringing animation version? Because I know they're doing a live action, which, you know, I'm actually kind of a bit excited for. Like, I don't care
The
what
live
they
action
do, I
one's
get it.
been out for like 5 episodes or something.
Yeah, but I can't really watch it unless I go onto an illegal website.
Yeah. And it's no. So I mean, they're bringing the original series back, and they're going to try and finish the original series, which is what people wanted.
When?
I don't know.
Make it quick. I'm busy getting
I
kids after
don't
my
know, but if that end credit scene is anything to go by, they're doing it.
I mean, finally,
Sure.
I would laugh if there's an episode where they beat up the Teen Titans Go and they're like,
There's an episode of Teen Titans Go where the villain
I know
control.
about the episode.
Yeah, and it's
I know.
yeah, and it's
I
not
liked
like
it.
I think the intention was we remember this show and we all know you like this show, but it felt more like a gut punch than anything.
Yeah, it felt like a total punch in the face to all your fans. Look,
Yeah.
okay? No, you don't do that. You don't, no.
Yeah.
And like I know they said they were going to put another season of Teen Titans at one point out, and then Teen Titans Go came out and it was like, this is not Teen Titans. What are you talking about?
Like.
Like, and why it ended was so stupid too. Like, because apparently one of them was like, because there were too many of one demographic watching, it was like too many girls were also watching it, and it was like, ah.
Yeah. It was meant to be a show for guys, but a lot of girls watched it as well, and they loved it. And they were like,
Example
no,
A.
fuck no.
Example A.
Yeah, Exhibit A right there. But apparently they are gonna bring it back in some way, shape, or form. That's not Teen Titans Go.
If they do, I will be happy and I will stop ragging on them. That's the
Yep.
only time I will stop
Yep.
actually ragging on them.
I'm gonna go back to Stan Lee for a minute.
Also with style.
Hold on, let me issue this. Here's that Cartoon Network. I will stop ragging on your Teen Titans Go if you bring it back. I will, but until then, I'm gonna keep ragging on it.
Okay,
Can use that stuff
I
found in
will
your
be
science.
honest with you. There are 5 episodes of Teen Titans Go that I actually do like. Because they
I
gave
guess
me
so.
an amazing
Guys own weapons against
song.
them?
So, I
don't-
do like
I
them.
can't watch it. I just can't.
So, I do like those episodes. And the show itself does have its moments here and there. But, it's still not good. So why the hell is there a feature-length movie? And 5 seasons of the damn thing.
Here's my question. Did they get the same voice actor for Beast Boy?
They got the same voice actor for everybody.
That must suck for them. Like, this show used to actually be something and now it's this.
Yeah. Like, there's an episode where they meet the voice actors of their characters. Because Teen Titans Go is also all about the meta jokes.
Yeah, no. I don't.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, can't stand.
Yeah, no, it's so so anyway. Yeah, I know I've been spotted. I ran up to them. So yes. Now Stan Lee has they've confirmed that Stan Lee has pre-recorded 20 cameos, but the speculation is that his last cameo will be in the next Spider-Man movie. So he could be in Into the Spider-Verse. He's most likely going to be in he's most likely going to be in Captain Marvel, and he's most likely going to be in Avengers 4 because they've also finished filming. He turns up in Venom, which is kind of funny. Like, I knew he would, but you know,
I haven't seen it though.
yeah.
No, the movie I'm gonna go see this Saturday
base
is
is
The
all
Crimes
around
of
the city.
Grindelwald because I'm actually really excited for that.
I do want to see that myself. And I'm not a Harry Potter guy.
What else can I find around here?
Well, I mean, here's the good thing about the
Invoice
Fantastic
from an auto
Beasts
shop.
of Where to Find Them series. Like, you don't really have to
rights.
watch Harry
That's
Potter.
one expensive tune-up.
Like, maybe just a base
This is bigger
knowledge
than I
of
thought. Good
the
thing I stopped this when I
series
did.
is okay, but
Well,
like,
half of Manhattan
really
went
it's
to
just like,
stockpile.
it's about the guy that wrote the book
These guys aren't kidding
that
around.
Yeah.
Harry uses in the Magical Beast class. Like,
Yeah.
no, honestly.
Like, I've seen the everything great about and everything wrong with Harry Potter movies, multiple times, I will
I've
say.
seen them.
As if one
I do quite like
wasn't
them.
enough.
Funny. But yeah, so me saying I'm excited for something related to Harry Potter is weird. I also do want to see Aquaman as well.
Yeah, same here.
Because, again, I hate Aquaman, but Jason Momoa makes me like him.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
kind of want to
fucking
see
weird.
Incredibles 2 because my mom and my family, they went to see it, and I didn't go with them, and I wish I had. 'Cause,
Oh, I loved
watched
it.
a bunch of deleted- I watched a bunch of deleted scenes with Jack Jack. I was like, no, I gotta see it. And my mom's
Yeah.
like, you can wait until we buy it, because we're gonna buy it.
Yeah, no, I love that movie.
Pale horse rides.
Like, sequel done right.
I'll check it out and get back to you.
For once.
Yeah,
Okay, come on. You know most sequels are horrible. I said most, not all.
yes. And sometimes the sequel to the sequel is so damn funny that you don't care about the rest of them.
Yeah.
Um,
I still need to see Deadpool 2 as well.
sequel done right again. Yeah. Now, Deadpool 2, Stanley is not in that one.
Well,
Traditionally, he does have a mural. Like, there's a mural of Stanley rather than a full-on cameo, which,
yeah.
you know, is nice. And I feel like they might start doing, like, they'll have like a picture of Stan Lee, or a painting of Stan Lee here and there in future movies, which would be very nice and tasteful rather than trying to CGI him in. Cough cough Disney, cough cough Carrie Fisher.
Wait, what do you mean, cough, cough, Disney? He voiced that person, didn't he?
Disney CGI'd and Carrie Fisher for
Oh.
Rogue One.
Oh, I thought you were talking about, like, Big Hero 6. I was like, no, he voiced that
Oh
person.
no, not Big Hero 6. No, not Big Hero 6. No, that's again another one of his cameos. Technically, Big Hero 6 is a Marvel property because it was based off of a Marvel comic of the same name.
Yeah, but it's not exactly the like. If you look at it, they're completely different.
Oh yeah.
They're
Like,
creating an actual TV series for it. I kind of want to see it.
yeah, so do
Code SM1.
I.
Holding for orders. Copy code SM1. I have a visual.
So, yeah,
Did I make you lose your place?
a little bit.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably gonna draw while you're talking about this just a bit.
That's cool. So, when it comes to Stan Lee, like I've been talking a lot about his impact in Marvel and entertainment and everything, but he also fought in World War II. He also served.
Oh.
Yeah, and
9 out of 10.
Okay, fuck all you people that are trying to make him look bad. He fought for your country.
he earned the title of playwright in World War II. I can't remember what that meant.
Yuri.
But he was one of the only people to earn that title.
A private security force.
So again,
Paid
like,
for by Mayor
I'm
Oswald.
pretty, like, from what I remember, it is a huge
Next time
honor.
you get in my way,
Um,
I will not be so
Probably.
gentle.
like, without getting like a hero medal or a medal of valor or like a huge promotion, and like high rank. Pretty sure this was one of the high honors. You know,
It
which
probably
is
was.
always good. Yeah. So
Hey, sorry about that
I'm gonna
stable
tell y'all
thing.
right now,
I
World
told
War
you
II is
earlier,
my
but it all
jam when
happened
it
so
comes to
fast.
like talking about
It's
history
okay.
and shit.
We're still best
Yeah.
buds.
We're not
Um,
best buds.
So like,
Well, that took a dark turn.
Anyway, Sable has the mayor
knowing
here
that
and
he
unchecked
was like
authority.
involved in
We've
that
searched
was
that
pretty
address
cool.
you
Like I know I
found
had
plenty
some
of evidence of a
great
bomb plot,
grandpas,
but
like
nothing
my
that leads
granny,
back to Martin.
my great grandmother,
I'm working
her
on that.
3 brothers fought in the war, as I said before,
Hey, MJ.
and sadly,
Hey, so I
I
dredged up
think
some
she
records
lost
on
all of
Martin's
them
other business
in
holdings.
the war.
He's got places all
There
over
might
the
have been
city.
one, but
The locations line up
yeah,
on the map I
they
found
they
at that
fought
shipping
one.
business.
I think
I'll check 'em out.
one of them fought on the
Let me know what you find of each
Pacific.
one, and I'll work on
No,
building a
2
case.
on Pacific
You got it.
and 1 on
I'm headed to
European.
Lee's office
And
to see if I
actually,
can learn more about why he's
one of the
doing this.
rules
And
in
what
the
he's got
military
planned next.
nowadays in the United States is based
Say
off
hi
of
to May
this
for me.
family that actually lost all their
You don't think she's
sons
in danger,
because
do
they
you?
all served on
No.
the same ship.
Lee's only
So
got one
like
target
now
on
they
his mind,
separate
Norman
brothers and
Osborn.
sisters out. So if that you lose one, you don't lose all of them.
yeah.
Like that's how
Mr. again.
dangerous it was. Like the whole ship went down and they lost pretty much every single one of the brothers. There was one brother that they thought was dead, but he was actually a prisoner of war at this point.
Nice round number, don't you think?
Yeah.
And he escaped.
If you
It
catch
was
me
pretty
before I hit my
intense.
goal,
He,
I'll
like, it
give
was
it
the
all
only
back
brother
and
that
go
survived the
straight.
whole ordeal.
My future's in your
Yep.
So,
fighter.
again, as I say, to those of you that are trying to make shit about Stan Lee now that he's dead, fuck off.
I did see someone say, we were saying all this shit about him when he was alive. You just didn't,
Boring now. Hey guys,
um,
bird watching? I saw some pigeons over there.
like, you ignored it, and you didn't listen to it. And now that he's dead, you are. And I'm like,
Can't have the ones inside
no.
getting left out.
No, 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 no.
Going down.
And so basically people think he was racist and sexist because, hey, he was an old person in the 1920s and 30s and 40s and, well, the racism was big.
Dragon.
Yes?
What do you think that hand is it any good?
What? Oh,
MJ, I'm at the first location
Golly.
on your list.
his
Guess
new,
what I found?
it looks pretty
Give the
good.
lady a prize.
Um,
See if you can figure out what they're up to.
I'm not
while I
coloring it or
introduce myself.
outlining it until I get Sid's opinion because he's the artist.
yeah, no, he's the artist, not me.
Oh god, no, not the dog. Leo, why? Why?
You're in timeout.
I'm dying, hold on.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Ew.
Um,
Outside, Leo, come on. Let's go.
so, yeah, like, people, I kinda don't want to continue this without Maddie. And, like, to all the people that are bagging on Stan Lee even more now that he's dead, can you not, like,
Someone needs a nap.
because it takes away from the people that are grieving. So these people feel really sad
I got
about
gassed
his
by my big dog.
yeah. Like these people feel really sad about his death. Like, yeah, you don't have to like him, but can you at least be respectful?
Yeah.
It would just help a lot. So yeah.
So dumb.
So yeah, everybody thought that he was, like racist and sexist and blah 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 because he was an old person.
Which is stupid.
Yeah, like that's literally the
I would
reason
like
he
to
was an old
bring
person.
up. I would like to bring up something that could cause a bit of anger. But for those of you that say that, you do realize there were white people fighting in those rallies to get black rights up, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
actually, some of them lost their lives as well.
Oh yeah. Now, I'm going to bring up something about Stan Lee, and it's called Stan's Soapbox, which is basically where he would touch on the issues of the day. And one of his most famous ones is talking about how bigotry and racism are the biggest illnesses of the day, which of course he wrote this and you know around that time. So yeah, I think he was pro black and woman rights, just a little bit.
Looks like they bring in bodies in shipping containers.
So yeah, like
Criminal records are getting into the country.
all of your claims against him are kind of
Make notes of.
false. Like, okay,
Yeah,
he
the-
did have a bit of a falling out with Steve Ditko. That is true. He did not deny him co-creative rights for Spider-Man. That was Bob Kane and Bill Finger. You're thinking of those two, who created Batman. Where for so long Bob Kane would take sole credit for Batman, even though it was Bill Finger who came up with the origin and the name and you know all of that. So yeah, do proper research.
Yes, please.
Yeah, do
There's
proper
nothing
research.
more that I hate than not proper research.
Yeah, like
And like, look, I'm not gonna fault them on proper research, because guess what? I can talk about things too, and then I haven't done my proper research until after, and I'll be like, okay, I got this wrong. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Admit you're wrong.
yeah, that
That's
too.
all I have.
I admit, I used all the quips on the others.
And so
Repeating myself.
like Bob Kane refused to give Bill Finger co-creator rights until after he died or before he was about to die. Like
That is such a dick.
it was a long time. Meanwhile,
Again,
Stan and Steve just had a falling out, but at some point they patched things up because when Steve Ditko died earlier this year as well. Yeah, that's alright, all three of the creators of Spider-Man are dead.
oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even know there were three. Let's just.
Well, the
keep going on
third
that.
one gets like creative rights for Spider-Man's first cover because he drew that, and he
Oh.
died in the 90s. So, yeah.
Ugh.
This was Jack Kirby, the King of Comics. Like that was his actual title.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So, yeah, like when Steve died, Stan put out one of his vlogs, and like he talked about Steve Ditko like he was his best friend because he was, and yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, don't get Stan confused with Bob Kane. Don't call him a bigot, don't call him a racist, and don't call him a sexist, because you are wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of the sexist subject, like, I'm not gonna do, like... All I'm gonna say is there are some, like, female comedians that I've found that I thought was pretty hilarious, and they'll talk about that. One of the things that one of them brought up, she was like, okay, look, women are different from men, especially with our body types, except we push a child out. That's a lot of strength. It's not personally for us. We don't get our strength for ourselves. We get it for our maternal instincts. But I can tell you right fucking now, if there was a woman that did like bench pressing
MJ, call the police.
back in the time when
All the
we weren't
demons
allowed
are
to vote,
incapacitated.
and she went to vote, you wouldn't be able to stop her. We wouldn't have waited. I'm gonna say that. And it's kind of true. If you think about
The
it.
first country to allow women to vote was New Zealand.
Well, good for you. I'm talking about the United States history.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, people think Stan's homophobic because he refuses to make Spider-Man bi. Stan's thoughts on this were, I wrote him as white and straight, but I could have just as easily written him as black and gay. It was just how I wanted to write him. I have no problem with gay people and homosexual people and all of that. I've got no problem with them. It's just, this is how my character has been written, and I kind of want him to stay that way. But it's good that the multiverse exists, because then we can explore a black Spider-Man, we can explore a gay Spider-Man without changing the main Spider-Man
Yeah.
and having to rewrite him.
Which
like-
is, like, in all honesty, I think that's the best thing ever, though.
Yeah, and again, he wasn't against any of this. He spoke out for it. He spoke out in favor of it, and so
Like, yeah, there's a lot of people I know that are like, yeah, sure, fine, whatever, I don't care, you know, or someone are like, oh, good for you. And then there's
running this
those
place while
tiny
Mr. Lee's
few,
out of
and
town.
those are the
Who's
ones
doing
that
your
get the
old job?
heaviest voice, which are like against it, and I don't
But I could
understand.
always
There's
use my
only
help.
there's little
You know anyone?
actual
Actually, I do.
serious
His name is Miles
things that are
Morales.
against certain
Why does
people,
that sound familiar?
and they get the most
His
like
father was being honored at sea.
publicity and
Ah.
crap and stuff because we refuse to ignore them
Talked to him
and
at the
and look on the
funeral.
bright side.
He's
Like,
a
I know there are
smart
some jokes
kid.
out there
He's
that are
having
semi-racist,
a tough
but
time.
guess what? The thing, like,
I
I've
knew
been
a
told a
boy
joke
like
that
that
I thought was
once.
pretty racist towards a certain
remember it helped
ethnicity,
to,
but my
stay
friend
busy.
was that
help
ethnicity
him
that the
too.
joke was aimed towards, and in fact, a lot of them
Here's
were
his
telling
mom's
that
number.
joke to each other. So it's like, but
Thanks.
when someone
I'll give her
else
a
that
call.
isn't that ethnicity tries to
Hey, you
tell
haven't
it,
heard from
it's not
Mr. Lee
okay.
lately?
It's really
No, why?
weird
Just curious.
to
like
me.
that in
got some
itself
good
is
work,
actually
but-
racist.
Look around, see if there's anything else I
Yeah,
can
it's
do
like
to
it's
help out.
like,
Oh, you don't have to.
do you not like
I won't.
Yeah, no, and if
racist
you
is not just towards one race. It can also be towards white people. It can be towards Indian. You know,
I
it
should
can be
be
towards
towards
a lot
anyone.
of different races.
carrots, carrots.
Okay, hold on. One moment.
Yeah,
Be back.
yeah, and if you want real racism,
hanging in there.
H.P. Lovecraft's your guy. Like, if you want a properly racist and sexist dude that wrote famous stories, H.P. Lovecraft. It is uncomfortable to read his stuff now. Like,
Never seen that.
we'll get into the reasons when Maddie gets back, but yeah. H.P. Lovecraft, famous for his Lovecraftian horror. Proper racism, like, it's honestly uncomfortable.
Whoa, what the? There.
Um,
High
you have
voltage
no
lines.
idea how hard it
This
is.
much power.
I will close
So-
my door when my dogs get back in.
Yeah. Like, you have no idea how hard it is to read some of H.P. Lovecraft's work now. Because, like, if you want properly racist, sexist, and classist, like, the trifecta, and add a splash of homophobia in there for flavor, read H.P. Lovecraft's work, because dude was scared of everything except for his hometown. And it is uncomfortable.
It should be right on the other
It
side.
is very uncomfortable. And I mean, I love Lovecraftian horror,
Hole in the frame.
but reading some of that, ooh,
Parents abandoned him.
that would not have flown today
To the people who
at
threw him
all.
away.
Yeah, no,
No.
I totally understand that.
The shrine in the frame was
Um,
missing the picture.
Yeah, but
Speaking of horrors, like one of my favorite actually horror series has to be the Goosebumps series, and I kind of miss when
Nice journal.
they
If
used to
this
do
fits the
those
lock
little
in the
TV
portrait.
shows for R.L. Stein's work instead of like an actual movie with all of them. They did his TV show.
This is
I
the
missed
ghost
that
story
one.
Lee's father read to him
So old.
about a demon that could only be mastered through balance.
If y'all
Yeah.
don't know what
So
I'm
much
talking
more
about,
work.
you
Can't
should probably
believe he
check
was
it out.
hiding
It's
such
pretty good.
darkness inside him.
yeah,
And it was so
Um,
corny, but it actually terrified me.
yeah. Like, if you read a lot of early Marvel, there isn't a lot of racism or sexism in it either. And again, this was being written by
Nope.
Stan Lee.
Some kind of puzzle
Like,
lock.
I know that it's sort of, I guess you could say came out of the, like, comics code, and that's why there wasn't a lot of racism and everything, and it was around the time of, like, the civil rights movement, but it was, like, it did come before them, and there wasn't actually a lot of it, like, a lot of the more famous villains. Like,
Finally.
yeah, what was it? Third issue of Avengers, The Masters of Evil, were all white dudes with scary abilities, or a sword. Like,
This is the folder MJ found.
If we're actually gonna talk about this, to be
What Lee's
honest,
planning next.
there is no way to not be racist to someone out there.
Thank
Because
you.
someone's gonna take something the wrong way, they're gonna say it's racist when it's not. Or it's not meant to be. Because some
I
people
skipped
say
the
things
sword
and they're
and
like,
shit.
I totally did not mean to say it
It's a
like
burn
that,
wheel.
like, you know.
Wired to destroy
But,
evidence.
there is no way to actually, you know,
One more.
perfectly excuse yourself from that.
no, not at all. Yeah. So, enough
Police had found
enough negatives.
powers.
How dare you? You should feel ashamed.
Oh, I don't feel ashamed at all.
Obsessed with masks. Okay.
You know, enough negatives. I want to get back onto the positives of Stan Lee, because
His whole career.
just
Lee was
with
obsessed with him.
a lot of
Lee was
what
keeping
he's
tabs on
done
Wilson
for
Fisk, too.
this, for this world, just trying to make it a better place through superheroes and
How do I get out of here?
relatable stories and all of that.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And
It
it,
really is.
like he was about to quit and then released Spider-Man, and suddenly he becomes
Thought you were
a
out of town.
cultural icon alongside his
Yeah.
characters. And I mean,
Martin,
it's now a
you're back.
multi-billion-dollar movie franchise.
And heading off again shortly, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I think he did something right.
No.
Office.
You must have heard about City
I
Hall.
think he did something
Definitely,
right.
definitely.
Tragic.
Like, no
Peter was
joke,
there.
like,
He was very lucky.
he
And an Osborne rally.
was a good man, you know, and he
Know
was
you were a
creative
fan.
as well, so there's that
Yeah.
as
Well,
also.
What matters is you were both safe.
Amen.
A great man.
Bombers are still out there. Who knows what they've planned?
He even I think for the Defenders trailer, he was the voiceover for that, and that was an amazing trailer. Just watching that, like, the show was one of those ones where it started off meh, but it grew on me, kind of like in Humans. Like, I understand everybody's problems with the Humans, don't worry, and Defenders, don't worry. I know the problems, but they just grew on me as they went on. And it was more down to the performances of some of the actors rather than the actual shows getting better over time. And again, we
See,
wouldn't.
I have a problem with the arrow in that way. Like, I thought it was really good when it first started, and now
And
it
it
gets
slowly
amazing.
started to. Yeah, no.
Well, it's like it doesn't have anything as exciting, you know? Like, it's almost as if there's barely anything for it. And it really makes me
Yeah,
kind
like
of just about it.
they can't really go for the big cosmic threats because they haven't introduced the Justice League, which I think they're gearing up to do.
Well, I mean, there's gotta be some things you can do with the arrow that would
Like-
be that interesting.
Yeah, like I feel like they're gearing up to do the Justice League and everything within the TV series.
Well, if they are, then where's the Wonder Woman TV show? Where's the Superman TV show? They don't have that. They have the Supergirl, they have the Flash, they have the Arrow.
They have Supergirl, which has Superman in it. They have the Flash and Arrow, which is going to have Gotham City and Batwoman in it. They name dropped Bruce Wayne in season 6 of Arrow, so they exist. They just aren't being explored as much as these other slightly lesser known characters, to which I turn around and say, you've already got 2 Flashes, you've already got 2 Supermans, let's just get 2 Justice Leagues up in this thing and, you know, be done with it.
But see, here's the thing. If they try to do it, if they're introducing it as the Justice League, then the separate TV shows would probably end up ending, because then it would all be on what's going on in the Justice League, or it'd all be connected to the Justice League. Like, the Justice League is all of them together, and
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
like, so for the Arrow, I think. For the Arrow, as in the Arrow himself, I think they could do a lot more interesting things with him, especially since they've already established that his city is right near, like, the Flash's city. So, for instance,
Keep going.
for instance, one of the things that I could think of is like, what if a metahuman from the Flash's city realizes the Flash can catch him pretty easily, so instead he goes over to Green Arrow's city, and like it could be an entire season of that, and then the Flash can come in and finally help after they figure out where this guy's hiding out. You know what I mean?
Question, how much of Arrow have you seen?
Sable teams, this is control.
All of it.
Okay. I was gonna kind of say, like, there has been metahumans that
There's
have
been multiple crossovers between the Flash and the Arrow. What I'm saying is, they could have one where the Arrow is stuck dealing with that, like, with this all on his own.
Yeah.
Until the final episode.
Now what I was saying was give Arrow the Riddler, and this is more to DC. Give Arrow the Riddler, because like there was a point in the comics where the Riddler went to Chicago at the same time Arrow did, and like the Riddler kind of became his arch enemy for a while until they both moved back to their respective cities, which really worked. The Riddler was at his best, Green Arrow was at his best, and it's like, why not make the Riddler Arrow's main villain now? Because
yeah, Batman has the Joker.
Yeah, Batman has the Joker. The War of Jokes and Riddles was terrible, and really should not have existed at all. I will say though,
I love how we went from Marvel to DC.
again, Stan Lee wrote for DC. So it's still relevant.
I know, it's just like, this seems like our kind of thing where we hop from one
tangent a lot.
superhero thing. Yeah.
We tangent a lot. I guess that's part of our charm.
It's like, it's okay. It's just like, it kind of
Yeah,
happens all the time. So for those of you that are going for later on, because when we get a lot more viewers, this might happen. For those of the people that decide that they want to go to comics and go, Marvel, DC, no, leave. You should be ashamed of yourself if you do that.
No, I will talk about DC in a while I'm playing a Marvel game. I will talk about Marvel while playing a DC game. It does not matter to me. If I want dark, I go to DC. If I want light, I go to Marvel. But both can have elements of either. It does not matter. I love both equally.
Like, yeah, like in all honesty, the first season of The Flash, I thought it was way more Marvel-esque than one of the Marvel movies I watched. Like, than one of the Marvel TV shows. I think it was like I don't want to confuse my fucking heroes.
Was it Agent
Question,
Carter?
Daredevil, Marvel?
Yes.
Okay, so Daredevil. I watched Daredevil and I thought, is this DC? Like, because of how dark it was. And then the first season of Flash, it's like, it's a lot more Marvel. Like, they do, like, they can do both. It's just DC prefers to go dark, and Marvel prefers light.
Unless, of course, we're talking about Netflix Marvel, in which case, blood.
Yeah,
Which-
Netflix Marvel is the only Marvel I've seen go extremely
Again,
dark. It's like,
Give
whoa.
Moon Knight, Blade, and Ghost Rider Netflix series. No, they won't, though, because they cancelled Luke Cage and Iron Fist. And Defenders.
Yeah.
Like, even though Luke Cage Season 2 was very popular and people seem to enjoy Iron Fist Season 2 as well.
Yeah.
Because then there's also the Punisher.
Well, you gotta think, it could have been something else. It could have been the actors, it could have been something else.
No, not the actors. It was just Netflix pulling the
Okay, it
plug.
could have been the director. Or Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, it was just Netflix pulling the
Netflix
plug on
does
them.
that a lot.
Yes.
Netflix does that a lot. It's
Yeah, they
really,
won't do
it's
it on
strange
serious to
considering
glorify
how much
suicide.
they get for it.
Well, share play
Uh-oh.
stops in 5 minutes. So, this has been honestly a great episode for me. Just being able to talk
Unlike the
about it and
last one.
everything. Yeah, unlike the last couple of episodes. So I want to thank you all for listening to our talks about Stan Lee and Marvel and DC and touching on racism, sexism and all of that here and there. Trying not to go too deep, but at
probably
the same time
continue.
we can't exactly ignore it.
Yeah.
I want to thank Maddie for sticking with this one, because I know you don't know a lot about Stan Lee, but I just want to thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
And so, yeah, any last words?
Not really, except we'll probably continue the DC Marvel discussions in the next episode as well. Just
Yeah,
to be honest.
the next episode I've got something else planned as well to talk about, and it directly relates to this game and the DLC coming out. But yeah, with that, as always, do the bell thing, and for once I'm gonna throw out a hearty EXCELSIOR!